From Juicehead, Stalker 2 devs respond to the biggest fan complaints and huge update news. Probably help if I turn the sound on.
Getting an update tomorrow. The devs already confirmed it was coming at some point.
There we go.
Stalker 2 is probably getting an update tomorrow. The devs already confirmed it was coming at some point this week, and Stalker 2 is probably getting an update tomorrow. The devs already confirmed it was coming at some point this week, and while the SteamDB entries have been super active since release, just earlier today we saw both the main branch as well as a live QA branch edited for the first time ever, suggesting that Stalker 2 could see a new update on Thanksgiving 2024. GSC Game World is of course not an American company, so that actually makes sense. For them, it's just posting on any typical Thursday. But something I think a lot of players missed is the devs have been super active on their Discord. Not only in the GSC Answers channel, but also in some of the general channels. Some of the backlash around Stalker 2 and really fan frustration has been hitting new heights. And the devs have been responding to that, laying out much more clearly what exactly went wrong with A-Life 2.0, what kind of changes we could expect in the future, and more. Stalker 2 is in a weird spot right now where it's still hitting player milestones, but at the same time, players are leaving over some of the lingering issues. So here, I'm going to break down all of that, because some of you veteran players will certainly be coming back very soon.
It just seems like a typical Stalker release to me. At least it's in better shape than a Bethesda game when they release. Bethesda better watch out, because these devs are coming after them.
But the holidays are just a month away now, and I want to make this month easier on you. That was today's video sponsor, Ridge. They're running a giant ad, but do
Ridge.
time. While for every card of Ridge, oh look, hey, maybe you're you can, and it's a perfect gift this off. Just be active and respond to my link down below. But looking back at Stalker 2, thankfully the devs have been incredibly active in responding to fan concerns, and we just recently got some insight into what the priority 1 issues are over at GSC right now. Something we think about, but at the moment the highest priority are hotfixes for optimization and A-Life, so I guess it'll be discussed at some point later.
When is it going to be in perfect condition? Because I'm not playing it until then. I will get it when it's fixed. Until then, I don't have enough money to just throw at a game that's possibly not going to work for me.
The original question here was about a way to view faction reputations more easily, so that is likely not coming anytime soon, but we hear how A-Life as well as performance improvements are the #1 priority. GSC just posted this breakdown of major changes that we could expect in the first update to Stalker 2. We talked about this in the last video, and one aspect of this that got fans frustrated is the lack of fixes or changes around the 2 biggest problems, that with A-Life as well as controller dead zones. Both are listed in this as coming with future patches, but not included.
Who's using controllers? Losers? How do you even control with a controller?
In this first patch, considering they're the 2 biggest issues, and of course we just saw how GSC is saying they're supposedly a priority 1 fix, fans were left confused. If this is priority 1, why isn't it in patch 1? To which we do hear.
Before anybody starts bitching, I'm literally playing Resident Evil 1 with a controller, so stop it. I was kidding.
Here, it only means that we want to publish what is ready while our AI team is cooking A-Life changes. The A-Life fix is being worked on right now, but it's a complex system, and in turn, that fix won't be ready this week, even despite it being a priority. And I think GSC could sense that fan frustrations were mounting around the game right now, so we're to get some even more detailed answers in some of the follow-up. One of the big problems that was just not found in this update breakdown were performance improvements. A ton of users have major FPS drops and stutters, but we hear how fix of memory issues should help with general performance. So these memory leaks described here should bring some nice FPS gains for some Stalker 2 players.
I really wondered how it's playing on Linux, because the original Stalker games worked perfect on Linux. They were broken for me when I tried to play them on Windows, which is a weird thing. It's usually the other way around. I'm just wondering, does this work perfectly on Linux? Because if it works perfectly on Linux, then I'm going to try it out. So let me know down there in the comments if you're playing this on Linux. Is it working better than if you were playing on Windows?
And the lack of a dead zone fix for consoles was also met with a ton of backlash, especially as fans pretty quickly discovered that with Unreal Engine, which Stalker 2 is built on, enabling dead zones is quite literally just an optional setting that you'd kind of just turn on. It's not like there's a ton of work that needs to be done to implement this feature. And with how big of a problem this is right now, lots of fans are incredibly frustrated and having troubles aiming in a game where every bullet counts. But GSC does say, we're testing the fix, can't be 100% sure it'll be ready for the first hotfix Xbox at the moment of posting the update. So this does make a bit more sense. It seems like internally the dead zones are already implemented, but they're making sure they actually work, and based off of this post, it seems like there is still at least a chance they make it into patch 1, although it's more likely to come in some of the later patches. And
you know what a huge difference between this game and Bethesda games are? We fully knew that this was going to be broken, and they told us, they didn't overpromise that, hey, this game just works. No, we went into this knowing that it was going to be a mess. And they fully let us know that they're working on it. And you know what? They got this game working through a war zone, so I'm cool with that. It's not enough to justify me paying for it, though, because mostly a lot of the people that are for the Ukraine war,
probably just the very second one. So now, of course, a lot of the longer term Stalker 2 community probably doesn't care about this. They don't play this game with a controller. I'm personally not playing with a controller. But one of the things I noticed is we finally got an update on the top 50 played games on Xbox, and Stalker 2 is really high up there. It's like just below all of the major live service titles, and literally right behind Grand Theft Auto 5. We can't see exact player numbers on Xbox, but it certainly seems like there is a massive amount of people experiencing this game, and likely many of them through Game Pass. But of course, the other major issue with Stalker 2 is A-Life 2.0. And the A-Life 2.0 situation with Stalker 2 right now is really weird, as full-on conspiracy theories are now being posted. A-Life 2.0 was removed or really reworded on the Steam store page for Stalker 2 just a couple of days before the game came out. And that, coupled with these major bugs to the point where it just doesn't feel like A-Life 2.0 is functioning whatsoever in-game, have left a surprising number of fans arguing that this game doesn't actually have A-Life 2.0 at all. Basically saying that no, the devs were lying, that's why the store page was updated, this was never a feature, it was just misleading marketing. And this is largely based off the fact that we don't even really know to what extent A-Life 2.0 was going to work in Stalker 2. We of course saw it in the past games, but we don't know what this 2.0 variant would have done. But thankfully, the devs did clear that up. Right now, it throws NPCs around you. It doesn't properly simulate how everyone in the zone is fighting for living space, migrating, capturing new safe places, or retreating to safer areas.
it seems that Stalker is just really, really good at getting the NPCs to shit all over you. Especially when they're not supposed to.
ATM, you can't really sense the progress.
If they're not dropping grenades at your feet every 2 seconds, then they're surrounding you, and you can't do anything about it.
In NPC actions due to different bugs damaging the system work. Yesterday, I was running to a certain no-spoiler location, and bandits spawned 20 meters behind my back where I was running. Of course, it shouldn't work as that. A-Life will simulate the adequate life in the zone, not just random bandits rushing B after throwing a grenade. Which, yeah, the 20 meters spawns behind you, as well as grenade spam and rushing you, are pretty much what the combat experience in Stalker 2 is right now, in addition to NPCs having bionic night vision eyes that clearly can zoom in 20 times. And if you haven't played some of the older Stalker games, you can get a pretty good idea of what A-Life will feel like thanks to a recent Reddit post made by Denier CZ. You can see A-Life from a past Stalker game. Creatures of all kinds are moving because they have something to do and somewhere to be. And the real power of A-Life isn't just this, it's not what you're seeing or watching in front of you. Like, yeah, sure, you can see some of the dynamic creature and human movements in this gameplay, but that's just really one part of A-Life. What makes the system so special is how it keeps functioning while out of sight. Those humans still have somewhere to be. They're going to continue walking on that route and eventually may get caught up by something else on the same road. Whether
I really hope they didn't get overly ambitious with this game and they just can't fix it. I really, really hope that is not the case. Kind of seems like it might be, but hopefully they can really, really work hard enough that they can fix it. I don't want it to be left up to the modders again.
there be you, other NPCs with their own destination in mind, or something else entirely. All of this movement and really all of these NPC objectives is dynamically happening around you and in the background. So it creates a feel of a living world because, well, yeah, the world is effectively living with other NPCs having dynamic objectives that they'll do without any of your input. And well, yeah, via some of these dev responses, we hear how getting A-Life 2.0 working is a major priority. We never really get an idea as to why it's not working, with the devs really just saying it's bugged without much further clarification. Although we may have just gotten that clarification recently from a mod. Roadside Panic is a new mod that will overhaul the spawns in STALKER 2 and also promises some A-Life fixes. So on one hand, enemies will no longer just spawn right in front of you, but even beyond that, the author has attempted some band-aid fixes to get at least some aspects of A-Life working. And you can see they were at least partially successful in that. But this mod doesn't even restore things to their full functionality. The author reports a plethora of bugs, so many aspects of A-Life aren't working and they just couldn't get them to work, but there's perhaps an even larger issue around all of this, a massive performance loss. Even with some of these band-aid
Performance is what's going to make me quit playing. Out of all of the things, it's going to be performance. Like, if I'm getting stutters, or it feels like it's slow, or I'm getting lag at all, I can't play it. I'm putting it down.
Fixes for A-Life 2.0 by this mod author, your performance in-game with this mod installed.
By the way, I'm not bitching. Like, I'm still planning on buying this game. It's just got to be fixed first, because I am a poor boy. I don't want to buy a game and then it just never work, because I've done that a few times, thinking that it was going to work, thinking that possibly maybe in the future they'd have a fix for it, like Diablo 4. Like Diablo 4 on Linux. Because now I just can't get it to work at all. I bought it with the hopes that it would maybe work in the future, and it just isn't. And people have given me guides, and they've helped me run through it, and they've agreed that it just isn't going to work with the way I have things set up. So I'm not going to be able to buy it until it's fixed.
Installed will tank. STALKER 2 is a game that already has a ton of performance issues, and fixing A-Life seems to just lead to even further and worse performance problems. Right now, NPCs are one of the most taxing parts of STALKER 2, with a major CPU limitation being present for many. A-Life 2.0 dramatically increases this issue, with NPCs being even more CPU intensive.
Wow. This is a better CPU and GPU than the one that I've got, and it's not even hitting 60. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna be able to play this, because I have a better CPU than that, because I have a is mine better? I have a Ryzen 9. It's a 5900X. I think 7800X is better than mine. Damn.
So with just some parts of A-Life 2.0 working, you're talking about 30 FPS gameplay or lower. This is incredibly demanding for a game that already has incredibly demanding NPCs. I would not be shocked if right now internally GSE is facing this exact problem. It's likely that they can get some aspects of A-Life 2 online, but at what cost? If you just murder the performance of nearly all of the players, is that actually better? Particularly in a game that already has widespread performance problems. I recommend trying out this mod if you're interested, and get subscribed, as I will have my own mod video coming very soon for this game. But if all else fails, we did get a very reassuring message from GSE that confirms that they will get A-Life 2 working at some point. We are going to do fixes until it feels fine. And I suppose it goes without saying, but before we move on, yes, this mod author did confirm that A-Life 2 is in this game. The conspiracy theories are not correct. This wasn't just smoke and mirrors. There actually are implementations around this. But when it comes to A-Life 2, stick dead zones, and performance issues, those three are easily the biggest problems facing STALKER 2 right now. Although, the devs have been quite responsive to even some of the other major criticisms.
I gotta give it to these devs. They are some of the most responsive and most well-educated and most, let's say, non-hateful game devs that I've seen in a very long time. Space Marine 2 is pretty good. But these guys are even more vocal than Space Marine 2 and Helldivers and those games. And I love it. I love it. I love to see these games doing that, going the way of being actually nice to the customers and the fan base. You know, rather than the ones that are like, oh, you didn't buy this game because you're a Nazi.
Criticisms. Mutant balance is being monitored, and based off the number of complaints and even number of dev responses to complaints, yeah, I personally think bloodsuckers at the very least will be addressed at some point. I mean, right now in Stalker 2, any amount of combat you're spending with a mutant that isn't quest or achievement specific is literally a waste of resources. If you can run away from mutants, you're just better off doing that. These things are literally implemented as just a resource dump. Night vision and binoculars are two of the other major complaints or really missing features. Past games had them, but Stalker 2 just doesn't. Right now, without A-Life, this doesn't matter nearly as much as it did previously, but if we do eventually get a working A-Life system, I think binoculars especially will be sorely missed from Stalker 2, although they could come. Even though we have discussions ongoing about issues with visibility in-game, I wouldn't expect major things like binoculars being added fast, maybe in future bigger patches after hotfix period, but can't say for sure. As well as we did get a nice summation on where things go from here, with the biggest issues facing Stalker 2. A-Life is the main one. Others are still in the discussions, can't share exact details on what we are planning until we are 100% set on doing that. For example, some topics of discussion are mutant balance, day-night cycle, economy balance, but since we have clearly bugged things like A-Life, optimization, and quest issues, they have a higher priority. In the meantime, we are looking at feedback on some more complex by design things, and approach them cautiously without, overreacting. Just so you know that we are aware of main suggestions from the community and not ignoring them. And as far as I can tell, this is one of the first times I've seen economy fixes mentioned, which definitely makes me feel hopeful that a repair cost adjustment could come at some point, although likely a bit down the line, perhaps even a month plus away. Because as it stands right now, Stalker 2 is likely buggier than many of you realize. In an almost similar vein to what happened with Baldur's Gate 3, we are finding that the mid to late game of Stalker 2 has significantly more bugs than the first 20 or so hours. Once you leave the lesser zone, the bugs take off exponentially. This post reports towns being completely wiped out, audio logs being permanently unplayable, as well as a wide array of both hard and soft locks are being reported all throughout the community right now, where players just literally cannot progress to the next quest. And there's a whole assortment of reasons as to why progress is being blocked. So if you hit a point...
No, okay, so why did this game release? Why did they release this game? Did they have to? Were they obligated to release this? Because, I get it. They made this through war times, but, you gotta finish your game, man. You have to finish your game. You can't just release a broken mess because, what if you run out of resources? What if you run out of people? What if you run out of time? Release a game that's finished. I think they got over ambitious. They screwed it up, and it really sucks. Because I'm not going to be playing it until it's 100% patched, which might be years from now. Who knows? I hope that's not the case.
Point in the game where you have to go to Clear Sky, or right around the point where some of the s.t.a.l.k.e.r content, that being the Scientific Institute for Research of the Chernobyl Anomalous Area, if you start to get to some of those quests, maybe just hold off on them, because the bug reports after completing the s.t.a.l.k.e.r quest in particular are pouring in right now, with many players literally quitting the game because the bugginess gets too bad after that. Although it definitely seems like this first patch will at least partially be resolving some of these, so we'll have to test out to see how bad things are after Update 1. But of course, since release, the narrative around Stalker 2 has really been dominated.
And if anything is to show for these patches for other games, that there's gonna be new bugs, new things are gonna be broken when they release this patch that they're gonna have to patch. I remember Cyberpunk. I was playing Cyberpunk, and there was a new patch every week or two, and it would break something else. They'd fix something, and something else that was already fixed would break again. Eventually, though, they fixed it. They fixed it real good. 2 years later, when Phantom Liberty came out, or 3 years later.
By the game's problems. It's hard to look past the performance issues, or in the case of A-Life, a fundamental feature just not working with this game. But we will be learning more about Stalker's 2 future in not that long. Because we do hear how, we are going to share our roadmap somewhere around December. And this could end up being a really big deal. Stalker 2 will of course get more updates, and 2 expansions are currently planned for the game. But far more important is mod support, and this won't just be PC mods. Full-fledged console mod support is coming to
I hate it when games have road maps. I wish that wasn't a thing that games had. Because that just means roadmap. This means, like, we are on the road to fixing our game. It's released. Like, this... It's very sad. It makes me sad. Because I wanted to play this game. But it just... This game isn't getting the same attention that Cyberpunk got. Just because of the whole Ukraine war thing. And I just kind of... don't see that as an excuse, because they weren't, like, in the war throughout the whole thing. They left. They were not there. Like, some people fought in the war. I think
Stalker 2, and this has the potential to be massive. As we highlighted earlier, Stalker 2 has a huge player base on consoles right now, Game Pass likely doing a lot of heavy lifting here. Plus, the past Stalker games had incredibly active modding communities. I know quite a few Fallout modders who are just tired of waiting for a new game, and do plan to start making Stalker 2 mods once the tools do release. So the Stalker 2 modding scene has the potential to blow up literally right as the mod tools release. And even right now, there are a ton of fantastic mods. Get subscribed because I will have a mod video coming very soon, but that is your update on Stalker 2. If you're excited for more, again, get subscribed. I'll be covering this update in major detail, but also have videos on some secret features, as well as the best mods you could download right now.
I cannot wait for this game to be fixed, because it's going to be glorious. I think it's going to be one of the greatest games I've ever played. If they can do it. If they can do it, and I really hope they can. Because it just seems so amazing. It seems like it's on another level. And I just can't believe this game even got made in the first place. Like, it's a miracle that it even got made and released in the first place. I really just wish that it wasn't released as a broken mess. But that can't really be helped. And it's been done. What's done is done. Now I can just... all I can do is wait for it to be fixed. So I can play it forever, probably, like I do with the other 3. Well, 2, because I don't play the 3rd one. I played it a little bit and watched somebody play it, because that was ridiculous.